Welcome back to the InherAlchemist TV. In today's video, I want to switch gears just a little bit and do some social commentary. And this is in regards to a video that I saw on Queen SHIBA's channel where she was interviewing a woman by the name of Winter Harris. And she's one of the castmates of Love and Marriage DC. A lot of people have been asking me to read that show, and I've just been putting it off and kind of laying low, just because Huntsville got some juju on it. You know what I mean? It's hard to look away. But what really interested most to me is all of the nuances and the deep inner workings of it. You know what I mean? And I'm learning a lot through Huntsville, not only just the audience, not only just the cast, but also the audience. So yeah, but anyways, so today I saw a video and it was actually about Carlos King. And I don't know if the video said hostile work environments or toxic work environments or violent work environments, etc. I wasn't sure. But I definitely wanted to tune in on that. I didn't even know who the Winter Harris chick was or anything like that. But just based on the title of the video, I definitely watched it, right? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it to the fullest. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the tone and vibe of the video. But there were several things in that conversation that sparked my interest. And I wanted to talk about this colonizer mindset when it comes to not just successful Black people, but Black people in business, Black people in media, Black people in corporate America, and how we treat each other. It really reminded me of this one clip that I saw by this guy named Sarah Garvey. And I want to play that clip right now. And then when I come back, we're going to get into the review of this interview.
And myself and Pearl sat down to have a conversation, and she expressed to me that she wanted to do a new segment for her show. In that segment, she said that she would like me to present a topical news show on a day-to-day basis. So I said, okay, no problem. Talk to me. What are we talking about? And she said she would want me within her studio 4 days per week. I said, okay, from what time? She said from 10 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. What is my guaranteed fee at the end of the month? What is the salary? And she looks at me and she says, we do not do guarantees and we do not do salaries. And she said she does percentages. So I said, okay, cool. Well, what's the percentage? She said, Sarah, you're the high end.
She said, Sarah, you're the high end.
So you will get 70-30. And I said, hang on a minute. So are you telling me that's a high-end contract for you? And she said, yes. And I said, so are you saying that Just Petty Things Network has other people on low-end contracts? She said, yes. I said, King Rich's and Auntie Jenny? She said, yes. I said, what's the low end? She said it's 10 to 15%. So essentially, she could be owning 80% of the content, which is basically the monetized views on somebody's channel, and they only take home 15% of the money. She said, yes. I said, Pearl, how long are these contracts for? She said 3 years. You're gonna own me for 3 years to take 70% of my ad revenue, keep me in your studio from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening for 4 to 5 days a week, and you are not guaranteeing me any money. I said respectfully, for what reason would I work for your company? She said, because we have a great studio and we have great lighting and we have great editors that will edit your stuff down. Now, I may be a lot of things, but I'm not an idiot.
So that particular clip, I wanted to highlight because it talks about Sarah Garvey working for this woman, this white woman content creator, and her name is Just Pearly Things. And so Just Pearly Things, she was doing like a podcast style channel, and she was kind of like one of the, I guess, Andrew Tate, manosphere type of content makers, like the anti-woman content creator, or something that could be perceived as anti-woman. Now, in YouTube, there's a formula for success that is prevalent in YouTube, and it's basically having to do with YouTube Shorts. So in order to keep up with things like Instagram and TikTok and even Twitter, YouTube created Shorts, and that was like those 1 minute clips that people just kind of watch and consume very rapidly. And so any channel in YouTube that was making shorts was automatically catapulted to the top of the algorithm. And so what happened is that a lot of content creators started to create smaller channels in which they would clip up their content and make shorts out of the content as a way of dominating the algorithm, but also creating a digital army and a kind of like mass branding, right? So if I have the InherAlchemist and then I have the InherAlchemist shorts, and then I take the 45-minute video that I do and then I make it into a 1-minute breakdown, the 1-minute breakdowns will get flooded through a wider algorithm than say the video, which may just be stuck in the Huntsville algorithm, for example. So what these large content creators do, like the Kevin Samuels, the Just Pearly Things, content creators that have reached like millions of subscribers, what they're doing is they're creating digital armies, and these armies are like small channels that are just cutting up and clipping their content and regurgitating it in small pieces, right? And so to do that, you have to have a team. You have to have an editor. You have to have people creating these small channels. In addition, in your network, you have to have other content creators that are reacting and responding to your content, but you are the focal point, right? So I wanted to paint that backdrop so you guys know how the whole thing works. So Just Pearly Things is a white woman, and what she was doing was exactly what I just described. She was following Kevin Samuels' format for success on YouTube because she paid him for a mentorship. Now, she calls it a mentorship. I don't think it was. What I think it was that she was paying him to give her permission to enter into a black space in the manosphere, right? The black manospheres, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's like another sector of YouTube, right? So she got in, right? And so what she was doing is she was hiring Africans, and this is her words, who were managing her digital army, right? And then she also had some Africans who were content creators. Now, what Sarah Garvey was describing in that clip was the pay structure, right? And this is where it struck me about the woman Winter Harris. So he basically says that Just Pearly Things, a white woman, had another black woman, which is one of her proteges or another person on her team, and she had a bunch of other black people. But basically, when he inquired about the pay scale, they were in place to say, oh no, like, you got the best deal in town, like even so and so isn't getting this amount, or even so and so isn't getting that amount, like, you know, like this is how it goes. And you know, so what they're doing is that they're tricking you to accept less money based on triangulating you against other black people or other people that you work with, right? It doesn't matter whether or not that person is making more money than you or less money than you, because the truth is that you'll never know. But by telling you, oh no, this person isn't even making that much, so yeah, you're at the top end of things, even though you're getting significantly less than your worth, you accept it because you feel like you're amongst the top, right? Not knowing that the top is many, many moons amongst you, right? Now, I wanted to make that correlation because when I was listening to Winter Harris, she was talking about being poached by Monique Samuels. And I'm guessing Monique Samuels is an executive producer on the show, similar to the way that an executive producer, Melody Cherie Rogers, is an executive producer on Love and Marriage Huntsville. And so if I'm not mistaken, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the executive producers, some of them pitch the ideas, but they also invest financially, you know, into whatever the endeavor is, right? So looking at it from that perspective, if Monique is a person who pitched the show, created the show, or has executive produced the show, which means that she's financially put money in on it in an attempt to make money, then she's going to want to get the best deal for herself, right? So I was listening to the woman Winter Harris, and she was describing her experience with negotiating the pay. Now, she said that reality stars were making maybe $1,500, $2,000 per episode, which I knew that because it was actually revealed on Love and Hip Hop that Mona Scott was paying some of the actors or some of the cast members like $3,500 an episode, right? And you can't be mad at it. It is what it is. Some people are joining the show as a job, and most people are joining the show to further their career or their business prospects, like Stormy or like Melody, right? So the show money is really not the focal point. What is the focal point is the visibility, which helps them to promote their businesses and ultimately become more successful than what they could ever earn on the show. Now, I don't know, because I was trying to track down Love and Mayor Tunstfield, because I was thinking like, maybe I want to do some reviews on the shows. Maybe like some live reviews from the perspective of breaking down each episode in pieces. But when I saw it, it looked like it had been syndicated to like Cinemax or something like that. So I don't know if they're getting royalties or any residual income off of the previous seasons, or how that works for them, considering she said they only make $1,500 per episode. But I want to talk about how women are tricked into accepting less than their worth, especially when it comes to business or even corporate America or this entertainment industry, or just whatever it is, when you're working with other Black people who have a colonizer mindset and who seek to divide people or to play off of our desire to top each other or to be better than the other or to have one over the other. They use us against each other as pawns in their ultimate chess game. And the problem is that we think that skin folk or kinfolk, and you think that automatically that you're looking at another Black woman, you're looking at a sister, and that she's going to do her best for you and have her best interests at heart. And we know that's not the case, because a lot of people have talked about their disparities or their issues with Oprah Winfrey for the same reason. Now, granted, just because you're Black doesn't mean that you're going to resonate with or share the same Black experience with other Black women. I know with my job, one thing that I have is a very high work ethic. Now, in the job that I was working at, they didn't have a high work ethic. They had more so of a, we just gonna take our time and do this because we don't like our boss. Now, for me, I'm a busybody. I just have to be moving. So it's not like I'm working hard to social climb or career climb or be pretentious. It's just, I just like to move and get things done. I don't like things waiting on me. And I don't like unread emails. I'm just kind of like an on it type of person. However, because my actions were so contrary to the majority of the Black women in the work environment, they had a negative attitude towards me, and they were actually the ones who started the process of tearing me down. So if I would go to work, I would dress nice, I would execute my job, etc., and they would haze me. They would click up and talk about me. They would block my path when I was walking. Just do a bunch of childish shit. You know what I mean? And I always rose above it, just because I was used to being alone, for one, where I had to just cultivate a relationship with myself first and foremost. You know what I mean? And I was always used to flying above just minor petty shit. You know what I mean? My mind was always occupied with something else, something brighter. So they would do that type of stuff, and then at a certain point, they began to spread vicious rumors. A lot of the competition and a lot of the rumors and a lot of the tough time that Black people, Black women have at work is coming from other Black women, especially if you're attractive. I've seen them target my attractive friends. I've been targeted as well. It's like the same colorism thing. My friend, she's a brighter complexion. I'm a brown girl, but she is bright. She had the whole Halle Berry haircut thing going on, and she was treated so poorly by management, targeted, harassed, and they were all other Black women, right? And so you're in your environment, and you have you're Black, then you have your Black supervisor, then you may have the Black manager, and then you may have the Black director, right? But the black people don't go any further than that. There's like a proverbial glass ceiling. And the reason why is because they use black people in these upper but lower positions that have a cap on them, because they want them to manage all of the black people beneath them. And the reason why they don't put people of other races in those higher lower positions is because they risk things like discrimination suits, racial claims, etc. But if you know in your work environment, a lot of the racism, or internalized racism, as I like to call it, is going to be experienced by other black people. But when you're being targeted as a black woman, and you're being discriminated against or followed or harassed as a black woman based on your looks or your aesthetics, but you're being targeted by other black women, then how hard or how difficult is it for you to create a claim of discrimination, even though technically you are being targeted because of your race? And the reason why, or how you know this, is because you look at your Mexican counterparts or your Asian counterparts, and they don't have a high work ethic at all. They come to work, they spend a lot of time talking and socializing, doing potlucks, playing at the water fountain, talking with each other, and not working, but yet they're not targeted like the black woman is. The black woman is watched and hoovered over and hovered over by other black women. You know what I mean? So from that particular standpoint, yeah, you're being racist because you're watching me because I'm black, even though you're black yourself. You know what I mean? But I can't really call discrimination because you're black yourself. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're treating me more harshly than you're treating my Asian counterparts or my Mexican counterparts or even my African counterparts in some situations, right? The corporate structure, they're doing this on purpose to reduce things like discrimination lawsuits and things like that. But like I said, a lot of these black women run into glass ceilings because they don't realize that they're being used as pawns to manage the plantation, right? To keep things at bay, you know, to put the hammer down on each other. Even when you look at, sometimes they have black women that are in human resources, and if you have a complaint, you know what I mean, they're there to do the investigation and really kind of talk you out of your own mind, or rephrase the validity of your claim, or make you feel like maybe you have no merit. They conduct these dummy investigations, and they're really not looking for your best interest. They're not looking to resolve the issue. They're looking to manage you and to manage your emotions and to change your mind about a thing by showing you how what you're complaining about is pretty much baseless, right? They're using other blacks to do this, right? And again, because it caps your discrimination complaints or your civil rights complaints, etc. And again, it's all about, you know, other black people. Now, I say that to say that Winter incorrectly assumed that Monique, as another black woman, would be treating her fairly and not playing the game when it came to using her about the pay. But when she said that, she asked about the pay, and she's like, oh, me, I'm at the upper echelon, and I don't even get this amount. So if you get this amount, you're pretty close to what I'm getting. Lies and bullshit. You got to understand that. And even if Monique, and like I said, I could have the details wrong, but it doesn't change the facts of what I'm talking about. Whatever Monique's role is, they lie about what other people are making. They lie to give you the illusion that you're amongst the top performers as they use you. But they're playing, the reason why it's a colonizer's mindset is because they're playing you the same way black people were played against each other on the quote-unquote plantation, right? Whether you have the house Negroes, the field Negroes, some black women were used as breeders, you know, to just have babies all day, and some black women were targeted and hated because their husbands were sleeping, the white women's husbands were sleeping with the slaves by force. But those same white women would get upset and make those women go prostitute or abuse them because of her jealousy and her anger and things like that. Now, And then there was the mammy role. Mammy was brought into the house and treated as one of the family members, but really her role, is to oversee or to kind of like protect the massa, quote unquote, from other black people. You know what I mean? Period. Right? Being that mother figure. Right? They do the same thing with the black church, black women in church. They do the same thing with black Democrats. Right? I won't say my political affiliation, but I will say that there's a lot of issues with Democrats and the way that they use older black people to uphold certain patriarchal values, and not all of the patriarchy is bad. You know what I mean? America is a patriarchy. You know what I mean? It's a system, and we would be remiss to believe that white women or any other woman is fighting against that system when they're absolutely complicit. But what they do is make us feel like they're fighting against something, and the agenda overall is to separate black men and black women. Now, they're doing this through the education system, because they know that as they educate more black women, or even through social media, the influencers, as they do that, there's a lot of capital at stake, and America is all about the money, and the goal is to separate you from yours. When a woman is well loved, well led, well taken care of, there's not a lot of voids that she has to spend her money frivolously or to waste her money, you know what I mean, or to be taken advantage of. A huge reason why Winter Harris was taken advantage of was because she did not have any representation, or she did not have any support. I went through a situation just recently with Mercedes-Benz, and I took my car in for repairs, and they damaged my car, and they're just like, oh well, we're not going to take care of it, blah blah blah, you know what I mean? But long and short, they were cheesing me over because I was alone. Came back with a man, and they changed their tune, you know what I mean? So there's still misogyny, there's still chauvinism, there's still sexism that exists, that men serve as a buffer to protect you from if you choose a man that's not needing you, you know what I mean? A lot of us end up with men who we have to be the mouthpiece for, and obviously that will be counterproductive to protection, right? But anyway, so there are several points of why black women are being kept single, and a lot of it has to do with money and separating you from your money, and it's a lot of the reason why white women are established as the standard of beauty. That's a form of capitalism, you know what I mean? As long as you're aiming towards that, as long as you're trying to mimic her lifestyle, not just her looks anymore, right? Looks are very ambiguous. You can weaves, all that stuff, whatever. They pretend to culturally appropriate because they want to give you the illusion that they want to be you, and deep inside they do, but that's not the reason why they do it publicly. They're doing it so that you buy into them, right? So if you look at things like hoe culture, or this whole Instagram culture, and nothing is about family anymore. Everything is like, get the bag, get a Birkin, use men, do this, do that, objectify yourself and all that. But in order for you, and then I'm going to sell you on the lifestyle. We got the cars, we got the watches. You're over there broke, struggling with your blue collar man, and you ain't getting nothing. So therefore you're worthless. But not knowing that a lot of what you see on Instagram in the way of images is fake. It's all a facade. A lot of the celebrity relationships are fake. A lot of the women who are showing off these lavish lifestyles, they're all fake. And when they say that they're influencers, what they're doing is they're creating a persona and lifestyle to sell you as real. Now, we know that black people are very impressionable. We've known that since they used to make music videos back in the day. Now, back in the day, music videos were the source of this inspiration, or the source of this impression, where people would go on and emulate that. But since now it's moved to social media, if you've noticed, social media has become a kind of pictorial music video, right? But the goal is still the same, right? To target idle-minded black people that are willing to separate from their money in order to invest in the image that is placed in front of them that is not even real, right? Winter Harris's biggest issue, or the reason why she fell for what she fell for when it came to Monique as well as Carlos, because Monique was in on it as well. Don't get it wrong. If she's an executive producer, her money is her goal is her money as well. Her goal is her capital as well. Her goal is to recruit the cheapest talent as possible as well, right? And so the way that she was able to convince you to accept less than your worth was by playing on your pretension, on your desire to believe that you're at the top, or that you're floating with the high mallers, the high society, or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get into the black. Listen, I could go deep into this because I used to do book readings, and one of the books that I read was The Black Bourgeoisie. And, you know, it's about the boule, and it's about how all of this came about and how all of these structures started, you know what I mean, and how we got to be you know, this hierarchy, lowarchy thing, and the role of people above us, or mulattoes and rich people and middle class people. It showed a lot of that, and I may upload that content on this channel as well, if you guys are interested in that sort of thing. But by playing up to her desire to feel important or accomplished, as opposed to her understanding and knowing her internal worth and setting her price and letting that be what it is, she accepted something because she felt like she was amongst the top. You know what I mean? Now that's the whole thing that they're doing to black people, which is basically considered like gassing you up. And if they can give you the illusion that you are better than the next black person, if they can give you the illusion that you are riding just under the top of the line, no matter if you know what the top of the line is or not, is irrelevant. You're going to go for it because you feel like it puts you in proximity to the best, even though it's far below your worth. That's the whole mind fuck, right? That's the reason why they're able to put black people in corporate environments and watch us lord over each other and sabotage each other and basically rip each other apart, deny us our equity, our justice, and things like that. It's because you're just outside the club. You know what I mean? That's what a glass ceiling is. It puts you just outside the club. And the reason why I played that clip with Sarah Garvey is because it wasn't just Pearlie that was doing it. It was other black people that she was comparing him to make him feel that he was better or amongst others of the same rate, even though he himself was not comfortable with what he was being paid, if that makes any sense, right? You have what you feel your worth is, and if you don't know what the job pays, then you need to do some research. But you know what you're willing to work for. You know what is fair or what is not acceptable based on blah blah blah. But because they're able to play to your vanity, you say, "Oh, okay, well, wow, like I'm almost making the same as you. This must be right." It doesn't matter if you're almost making the same as that person. You deserve that plus tax plus more if that's what your worth is. But we can't let them play us against each other so much so that you end up basically cutting off your own nose to spite your face. You know what I mean? All because of your desire to be better than the person that's next to you. Whereas all of you guys could have banded together in full disclosure and said, this is what we want and this is what it's going to be. But because each of you individually have the illusion that you're already at the top, you don't want to compromise that by introducing yourself to the people at the bottom, right? Because they've already given you the perception that you're making the most. And so when you have them walking around with this kind of haughty, I'm a star attitude, this and this and that and the third, it's because they already gassed you up with the illusion that you are this or you are that, when none of you are any of that. And they're using the divide and conquer tactic to do it, and that's why they're considered the colonizer. Now with the Sarah Garvey dude, just Pearlie was the main person, but she was an actual white woman. Now Carlos, I feel like Carlos is more so like an overseer, like maybe like a Samuel L. Jackson on Django or something like that. But there's people that are behind him that are the actual colonizer. You know what I mean? people that he answers to, like white people, and I think that's what has a lot to do with the tension between he and Andy. Maybe I don't believe that Andy is necessarily at a glass ceiling, but there's definitely some tension there that has to do with plantation politics. It's jealousy, it's competition. It's almost like I get the vibe like Samuel L. Jackson is Carlos, and then there's a master, and then Andy Cohen is the son of the master, or something like that. But Carlos has managed to get closer, or be more useful than the son. And so the son is like, hey, like, you're not going to be getting access to my daddy more than me. I have to preserve my legacy, and this is my inheritance. The daddy being the networks, the business, the entertainment business, and so forth, right? They're just taking all of these mentalities and moving them forward. And the cold part about it is that a lot of people want to say, oh yeah, it's only black people struggling with the slave mentality. You got to understand, slavery was a two-way street. If black people are struggling with psychological remnants of slavery, then white people are too. And think about what their role is in slavery. If we still carry the marks of that, what makes you think they're not carrying the marks of that degeneracy and the way they chose to rule or lead, or that barbarishness? They're still the same people. You know what I mean? Just like we're so-called still the same downtrodden people. So they should be treated that way and always thought of that way. But then you have people like the House Negroes, right? Which are like your Carlos Kings, and they don't mind treating other black people in a way because they've been given the illusion of proximity. You know what I mean? Whether that proximity is to wealth or whether that proximity is to the massa, quote unquote. You know what I mean? So a lot of Carlos's exploitation of black people has to do with his illusion of proximity to the colonizer, and from that proximity and that illusionary state, he starts to mimic them. And they don't want to create black excellence that's based on ancient African principles and values and morals. No, they want to replicate the colonizer's mindset, but they want to do that amongst black people. So essentially, they want to be the whites of blacks. You know what I mean? Now, this is important because you see this all around you. Whether you're working in corporate America for the government or you're in an entertainment industry like this, you have to look at the psychology and the actions of the person that you choose to get close to. Not just automatically assume that because they're black or because they're a black woman that you can trust them or take their word at face value, or that they're willing to treat you as or give you your worth. They are there as buffers. They're there to keep you in your place, essentially, and they're being kept in their place as well, because like I said, there's a cap on how far they can go as well, so they won't hesitate to put a cap on you. When you're looking at people like executive producers, whether it's a Monique Samuels or a Melody Cherie, you have to understand that these are business-minded people that are going into industries that are based on capitalism, and the goal is to make money. These shows are financial investments for them. It's not about black excellence, love, sisterhood, or anything like that. These are people that are operating from a capitalistic mind frame, and there's nothing wrong with that. We absolutely need that in the black community, because we cannot be stuck in our emotions. We cannot be stuck in this kumbaya, we are one attitude. No, we can't float at the bottom like that. You have to be cutthroat. You have to have your climbers. You have to have people who are willing to get in the game. We can only pray that they have the long range objective of pulling their people up, but a lot of them get lost in the sauce in the process, right? I wanted to do that commentary because it sparked me. You know what I mean? So stay woke, keep your eyes open, suspect everybody. It's not to turn you against anybody, but one of young women's biggest disappointments in life is going to be realizing that not every other black woman has your back, and everybody ain't worthy of being called your sis. People have to show you who they are, and they have to prove you who they are, and you have to respect where they are in their life and what they want. One thing that helped me respect my superiors, even though I saw all this shady and scandalous shit that they were doing, because they confided in me a lot. You know, I don't know if it's my maturity. Everybody tells me their secrets, so that's not nothing new for me. But through building relationships with my superiors, I learned something about black women, which is that they are just normal women with their own families and their own ambitions. They want to retire with the bag. They want to set up for their grandkids. And it's not about you. There are certain things that come with the territory that they're going to do because it reaches their goals and their objectives. What separates you from them, what separates management from employees, what separates the top from the bottom is that they know where they're going and you don't. You know what I mean? So that's my video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. And don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn your notification bells on. And I'll see you guys on the next one.